fight against banditry, as authorities have intensified efforts to dismantle networks aiding bandits in the state. Let me ask quickly, if I may, as the Security Operatives have stated, do you think this is actually one way of ending banditry in the Northeast as it is at the moment, by apprehending this doctor that has been treating a wounded bandit? Do you think this is actually one move of ending banditry?
I think it's a bold step being made by the Nigerian security forces towards the onslaughts against banditry and insecurity at the north. These bandits and marauders and castle rustlers have been succeeding in this year attack on the Nigerian state with the help of collaborators and local community members and all of that. So apprehending this medical doctor is actually a plus, to the security agencies. I mean, in their affair, because
so don't you think they could actually get another medical doctor to keep treating them?
Now haven't broadened the scope of their fight, taking the fight now to the collaborators of these bandits. Of course, you see that they will closing in on them, because the bandits need doctors, they need supply food vendors and all of that. Food vendors, it's a psychological thing. We know that, okay, if they are arresting their doctors, they may extend to us the food vendors and other suppliers who aid these people. Because these people, they don't live and work in isolation. They need certain collaborators, like medical doctors who treat them when they're wounded, vendors who supply them the items, and even those that supply them arms. So let the security forces extend their dragnet. They're not just attacking the bandits, but attacking those who help them. So that will actually help them in dampening the strength of the bandits and the insurgents.
In what essence? Like, you feel these doctors or these aides will leak out information that they know already? Because if you have to actually solve a problem, you have to go to the root cause.
Yes,
you need to actually hit it head on and then get it at once. Arresting these aides, do you think it's going to actually end this banditry, as the security operatives have stated?
This is actually a kind of a warfare.
Okay.
And in war, you're actually interested in destroying the strength of your enemies. These bandits, have presented themselves as enemies to the Nigerian state, and by extension, enemies to Nigerian security forces. So a very good warfare also entails destroying their source of strength and their source of sustaining their firepower. And their firepower is not just only the kinetics. Other soft powers like the food they eat, the doctors that treat them, and other services they get to sustain this fight, it's also part of their warfare. So going after not just them, but because you need proper preparation, to attack, to carry on your attack against the military. So if they destroy, you start going after those people that help you, those your collaborators. You see that your strength, your areas of strength will become narrow, and it will turn to your own weakness. And so by the time the bandits don't have medical doctors or people coming out to treat them, because the fight has been taken to those people who are helping them, you see that their arsenal, both the soft and the kinetic, will begin to wane down, and it will become a plus to the fight against them. So I think the arrest of the medical doctor and every other, it should not be limited. Other collaborators, those who supply them arms, those who aid them to transfer monies, to get monies, those who aid them to get food. If they don't cut out their food supply.
Because we actually have a similar story about supplying supply of arms. What if most of these arms these bandits, these terrorists get are from most of this, you know, military or security operatives that are also trying to fight?
That is why the war against this insurgency, or in fact any war at all, is actually premised on the strength of intelligence of the force that is actually for the state forces. Okay, so it is not just doing the kinetics alone. You also need intelligence. So intelligence will tell you where these people are getting their funds from, how they are getting their weapons, where when they get injured, who treats them, when they need food, how do they get their food. These are the jobs of intelligence. So when you gather, when our security forces have this intelligence, they will be able to help them in eliminating the strengths of the bandits and the others non-state actors who are fighting in Nigeria, who have declared war against the Nigerian state. So they should focus more on this gathering of intelligence, so that they can be able to know if the who supplies them is it from rogue security agents. This is work of intelligence. Is it from international collaborators? This is the work of intelligence. So they can even do that by other overt or covert operations. You know, have agents, secret agents, you know, go into even their recruitment processes. So the fight should not only be on the kinetics approach alone. It should also be extended towards intelligence gathering. But I believe it is because it is from gathering intelligence that they're able to know that this medical doctor actually this is what he does, that aids and assists these bandits in their fight, you know, against the Nigerian government.
Okay, thank you on that, Mr. Ferdinand. Well, if you recall, the security operative have also come to say that often about thousands of Boko Haram bandits, terrorists have surrendered, and they are de-radicalizing about 800 of them, you know, because they arrested them with their families, you know, and all of that. So we're hoping that in that instance, most of this insecurity is actually coming gradually. Or do you think it's otherwise? Because as it stands, there's still the insecurity going on in most of the northern states.
Okay, I have my reservations, okay, concerning the radicalization procedure being adopted by the military. Okay, now these people are people who, some of them have different reasons for joining forces with the non-state actors, the bandits and all of that, and the terrorists.
Okay.
Now you get them, you apprehend them, you profile them, and you reintegrate in the same place. That with that proper psychological reassessment and rehabilitation. Okay, so I would have been happier if our security forces have a system, it's a big center, maybe far different from that north, where those apprehended could be taken, those who are capable of being rehabilitated, those who join this, who were misguided and misled into joining terrorism and all of that, and all those who are doing it out of passion for whatever, you know, those who are misguided, you know, so who can be provided with psychological help and counseling, okay, to see that actually there's no those extremists, those fanatics who join this not for any financial gain, but just because of religious poor religious orientations and all of that, you know, can be rehabilitated. Not, and if you must reintegrate them after rehabilitation, it must not be in the same area where they operated for. Okay, I think they may end up going back to the arms of those who actually recruited.
Thank you so much on that, Barrister Ferdinand. Well, moving forward, Chairman of the Police Service Commission, Hashimu Agugun, has officially written to the Inspector General of Police demanding investigation into the roles of some officers of the Zone 7 Police Command. In a statement on Tuesday by PSC spokesman Ikechukwu Ani, the PSC chairman accused officers of violating police rules of engagement by meddling in civil matters and facilitating the demolition of petitioner's residence. Google, who is requesting that the IGP sets up a competent committee to conduct further investigation into the activities of the officer. He said the letter was prompted by a complaint and petition received from one Alhaji Abubakar Yahaya against the two officers of the zone who, against repeated warnings, were involved in civil matters and supervised and provided cover in the demolition of the petitioner's residential property where he had lived for over 15 years. In a letter to the IGP, the PSC chairman said that on the 19th of December 2024, the police and enforcement staff from the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, went to the residence of the petitioner, Abubakar Yahaya, threw away his property and chased his family members out of his residence. The PSC chairman, in a letter to the IGP, said the petitioner was arrested by the officer in charge of Legal Unit Zone 7 Police Command for criminal conspiracy, trespass and mischief, adding that the sum of 1 million naira was collected from him for securing his bail. The PSC chairman said the petitioner's prayers include having been rendered homeless as a result of the acts of the officer in charge of legal units and the deputy commissioner in charge of operations, who are the major culprits of this heinous act, that the officers should be investigated and appropriate sanctions meted on them, as well as the payment of 1 billion naira for the action of the police as compensation. Coming from the Nigerian police force, this is actually one thing that plays brutality with someone oftentimes. But I'd love to get your thoughts on this, please.
Okay, the matter is not just although the complaint is coming from the PSC, the Police Service Commission, but if you look at the matter, it's rooted from a judicial proceeding. Possibly because they say there's they were doing it to enforce an order from the FCCI court. So actually a judgment has been given by a court, and usually when you want to enforce the judgment of a court, you usually carry the police along. The police will provide security for the enforcement of the judgment. So it is where I actually got a little bit surprised how the enforcement of court judgment or court order led to the arrest and the extortion of the supposed judgment debtor or the person who lost in the judgment. Because obviously, what from the report, from the news item we just read, what happened is that somebody got a judgment concerning land.
Yes.
And then for you to enforce that judgment, police usually, you apply to police, and the police provides security for the court officials to actually go and enforce the judgment of the court. So if the judgment of the court says the person who Vitato was laying claim to the house and has lost in the legal battle in court, should vacate that house, and the ownership of the house is from the judgment given to another person. The person has right to actually get a writ of execution and a writ of possession from the court and repossess the property.
In an essence where, yes, like you stated rightly, that the judgment was gotten from the court.
Yes.
And then the police taken along in order to accomplish... To
provide security for the enforcement of the judgment of a court.
And then they turn out...
Now, when police is engaged to provide security for enforcement of the court, they usually start. They don't do anything other than make sure that the court staffs are allowed. The police don't carry the execution and enforcement themselves. That's why I'm saying that was where it got wrong.
Okay.
And the police had to, but maybe because the reason the police gave for the arrest because you said somebody committed trespass. That's not police. It's not for the police to determine whether the person committed trespass or not. After judgment was given, what the police ought to have done, the beginning of the police to make sure that place they lead the court to provide security for the court officials who actually do the proper enforcement. If they are going to attach the property, they are going to take over possession. The laborers that will break the doors and physically enter and evacuate the house will do that, not the police. Police will be there to ensure that those laborers and those staff of the court are not disturbed or harmed in executing or carrying out the judgment of a valid judgment of a court. Which before the police even get to even provide the security, they will even their legal unit will have to come to the court to verify that there's a transactional contract between.
Yeah, depending on your offense, isn't it?
If it's a bailable offense, it doesn't even have to depend. If the offense by law is bailable, you're entitled to it. What they require is that get a surety who will sign a bond that if on so and so they are told that the suspect is needed in police custody, so to come to police as part of the investigation, that the suspect will be available. He will make sure the suspect is available. But if he is unable to do so, he will lose certain amount of money which will be quoted in the bond which he will sign. That's the bail sum. It's not supposed to be because to get the bank to take the bank to court to seize the person's. The bank will tell the person doesn't have him. So I think there should be a system where the police service commission should devise, where all police officers will be made to provide their BVN with the court system, either with the Supreme Court, so that any police officer who misbehaves, the victim can take him to court, and the court will be, there should be a system where the court will be empowered to actually visit that policeman, compensated, and the compensation will be borne not by the police itself as a body, but by that particular police officer, where your monetary will be taken from source. The money will pay to the account of to the victim of your brutality. So the man knows that whatever I do, if the case comes out, it's being the body.